Hello, I'm Aaron the Dungeon Master Dad, and welcome to episode 7 of Temple of Elemental Evil in the Adventures of Logan and Reagan, the heroes of Hamlet. So in our last adventure, our heroes and their friends have infiltrated the Temple of Elemental Evil. They have now joined the Earth Temple. So the bad guys think they're bad guys, and they're well on their way to their goal of undermining the temple and destroying it utterly so that it never rises again. Now, I showed this last week. This is level 1 of the temple with all of level 1 filled in. And of course, they had not fully explored it at this time. In joining the Earth Temple, they got their first assignment from Romag, the High Priest of the Earth Temple. And that is a quest to find a kitchen and destroy a giant snake. So, their first series of explorations of level 1 are searching for this kitchen. And at this time, they have several encounters. And let me go over what a couple of those are. In this hexagonal room here, they encountered harpies and then in a couple of places they encountered ghouls. Logan and Reagan are both immune to the special power of ghouls to paralyze with their touch, but more interestingly, Morgan used her turn undead power to command several of the ghouls into our service. So we have now a couple of ghouls in the party as minions. We also encountered ghasts. Ghasts are like uber ghouls. Morgan was not powerful enough at this time to command those into her service. So Yaday used her turning power, and then they just destroyed them. Now here, in this large section here, they encountered skeletons, many skeletons. Some of them were human skeletons. Some of them were gnoll skeletons. They were left over from a large battle that had occurred here 10 years before when the temple had been sacked. Those were easy for Yaday to destroy with her power. Morgan was commanding as many undead as she could with the ghouls, and ghouls are more powerful than the skeletons, so no point in trying to command some of those into her service. And then they, in one of these rooms, I think in here, I believe, they encountered sturges. Now, sturges are a D&D character, a D&D monster that's been around forever. They're these birds with giant pointy beaks. They're like really big avian mosquitoes. And what they try to do is they'll land on you, stick their beaks in, and try to suck your blood out. So they're very dangerous for first level characters. Our party, I think, was averaging 4th level by this time. We had one 10th level character. They really weren't anything that was too terribly dangerous to these guys. Now, they also encountered in one of these rooms, I think it was, right up here, they were searching around looking for the kitchen, and in this room here there is a section of floor that tilted when they were standing on it, and Otis and Elmo fell down about 15 feet below into this chamber that just immediately when they fell into it filled up with swarms and swarms of giant rats which were biting, and the other characters, there were too many of them to fight. just literally thousands of them. So the other characters used their ropes, and they hauled Elmo up first because Elmo, being only 5th level, had many less hit points than his brother. So they hauled Elmo up, and then after that they threw down the rope again and they hauled Otis up. And by the time they had hauled Otis up out of that room, he was down to something like 10 hit points out of 100. He had so many rat bites on him. And both of these characters had to make saving throws to avoid having contracting a disease, filth fever. And as a matter of fact, I think Elmo did get filth fever, but there was an incubation period. So he was sick for several days after they got back from this particular foray into the dungeon, and he survived the filth fever. From here, the characters, now, they used their magical healing on Otis to get him back up to pretty close to full hit points, which was a darn good thing, because from here they followed the little arrows north, came in through here, and found the Earth Temple. The Earth Temple, the entire floor of the temple was covered with loose dirt, and as they moved in a little bit to see what this place was, the dirt rose up out of the ground in the form of a giant earth elemental, and Otis just got pounded, and it got a critical hit on him, took him down to less than half of his hit points in one hit. Well, we backed the party backed the heck out of that room. They made note of it. They, we're going to have to destroy this temple at some point. But right now, while we're members of the Earth Temple, we're not going to vandalize it. That's not the best way to maintain our cover. So they backed out. And clearly, even having brown robes on did not stop you from being attacked by the earth elementals. Romag, the high priest, he knows where to walk and where not to walk. So they would have to either learn this, or later on, when it came time to destroy this temple, hopefully be powerful enough to defeat these elementals. Now, they came around, showing myself. So they were here, they came around this way, came to the other side. They knew not to go in here. Instead, they looked over here, and one of these rooms was actually the kitchen that they were looking for. So they had a little battle with a giant snake. Monty hit the giant snake with a scorching ray, and Reagan then killed it with a magic missile. So they went back to Romag with the head of the snake, and first quest for the Earth Temple was in the bag. Romag was ready to give them quest number 2. Once they have fulfilled 3 quests, they would be full members of the Earth Temple. So quest number 2 was to deliver a letter to the Earth Temple's contact in the town of Nob. No real danger to this quest at all. Just an errand, basically. And they already knew this guy, because this is a guy who had recruited them. His name was Wrenstitch, and he was the proprietor of the bar in Nob. So they went back to Nob, delivered the letter. They got Wrenstitch's response. They bring it back to Romag. Romag says, very good. Thank you. Now for your last quest, your last test of initiation. Kill Belcernig, the high priest of the water temple. So our party said, all right, boss, we're on it. And they left. Now at this point, they discussed it amongst themselves, and they said, okay, well, you're going to do this at some point, but our plan is to undermine all 4 temples as much as we can. So before we get a chance to do that, we want to try to infiltrate the other temples using these extra robes that we had found up above. We have a couple of green robes, we have a couple of orange robes with red trimming, and we have the one white robe. Let's try to get into the water temple, the fire temple, the air temple also. So we're going to be members of all temples all at the same time and get all of these guys fighting against each other. Eventually, we're going to kill all of the heads of all of the temples. So, yeah, Belsornig, we are going to kill him and do what Romag wants. But not just yet. Let's see what quests the other temples have for us. And so, next time, they're going to make their way down to level 2, where the other 3 elemental temples are housed, and try to make contact with them individually. Until then, remember, don't kill your kids' characters. That's what the NPCs are for.